Hey guys, hope you're doing well out there. Time to take a look at Costco Wholesale Corporation, ticker symbol COST, as shares are up just a casual 65% over the past 1 year. But as we walk through today's financials for their Q2 results, you'll see why this was really another sleepy quarter over at Costco. Nothing really stands out from these financials. All numbers came in basically close to where they were expected to be. But you still have this company sitting at a lofty nearly 50 times earnings multiple on a forward basis. And so no doubt this one was due for a pullback at some point or another. And we're getting that now in the after hours. We'll see whether this can really be a buying opportunity heading into the future. As always, if you're new to the channel and find this type of content valuable, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button below. It would be much appreciated. Shares of Costco declining right around 4% in the after hours, coming down to $753 a share. Basically, you gave up the gains you made over the past 5 trading days over at Costco. Now, top line revenues for this most recent Q2 came in at $58.44 billion. That was good for 5.7% growth on a year-over-year basis. Did miss estimates on Wall Street by right around $700 million. Costco did mention the top line sales for this most recent quarter were negatively impacted by roughly 1.5%. That's due to a shift of the fiscal calendar as a result of a 53rd week last year. And so Costco basically had the benefit of an additional week of sales compared to last year, affecting their top line in this most recent quarter. In terms of bottom line profitability, Q2 non-GAAP EPS came in at $3.71. Estimates were closer to $3.64, and so that was a beat of 7 cents on that bottom line. Now, what you didn't get over at Costco in this most recent quarter was a membership fee hike. That's something that was, I think, largely expected over on Wall Street, and that might be one of the reasons why the stock is selling off close to 4% in the after hours. The last time Costco raised its membership fees was back in June of 2017. That's when their fees on that Gold Star membership went from $55 up to $60, and then the executive membership fee went up to $120 from $110. And so I think we can pretty easily say that the membership fee hike will eventually come. It's just hard to know when that is. In my opinion, I think that'll be right around in the next 2 quarters if I had to guess. That'll happen close to the summertime of 2024 of this year, and so that'll put basically 7 years apart from the previous fees hike. And Costco usually likes to hike their fees every 6 years, and considering they haven't done it, likely due to high inflation and outside of major recession in the US over the next basically 2 to 3 quarters, I think it's pretty likely Costco will come in here and hike their membership fees at least right around 7 to 8% if I had to guess. Now, as we spoke at the top of the video, this company is trading still at nearly a 50 times forward price to earnings multiple. That's for a fiscal year ended in August. And so if you consider the full maybe next 12 months, likely sitting somewhere between a 44 to a 49 times earnings multiple, especially for a company that's expected to grow in that high single digits to low double digit range over the next 12 months. That is a lofty premium you are paying. And in fact, that's the highest premium you've paid over the last 10 years over at Costco. This one's sitting at right around a 52 times a trailing price to earnings basis. That's on a GAAP figure, but nonetheless at 52 times, that is a lofty valuation again for a company that's growing in that high single digit to low double digit range. Now, this is a fantastic business model that certainly does have pricing power. And so when we see that they're looking to hike their prices, let's see, over the next 2 to 3 quarters, I'm guessing a lot of that price hike will flow right down to their bottom line. And so that will certainly help their price to earnings multiple come down, especially whenever that price hike does take effect. Yeah, that price to earnings multiple will come down substantially just because a lot of that additional dollar from their memberships flows right down to their bottom line. There's really no overhead associated with that price hike. And so this is a business that I think has true pricing power. You don't have many businesses, I'd say Chipotle, Netflix, businesses like that certainly do have pricing power. And I think Costco is one of them. And to that, you do pay a premium in the markets. Absolutely. But is that premium nearly a 50 times earnings multiple? I just don't think that's true. And even historically, when this company does come to right around 48, 40, the high 40s on a price to earnings multiple, that's likely when you can expect Costco to maybe come down to its mean. And really anytime it comes closer to the lower end of the 30s on a price to earnings multiple, I'd say that's when you're really getting a better bang for your buck when buying shares of Costco. And so from a trailing 10-year historical price to earnings chart for Costco, you can see this one is trading at its historically highest levels really it has over the past. Now, in terms of a financial statement, it doesn't get better than this, and really it doesn't get easier to analyze than a Costco. If you are new to analyzing financial statements, I would highly recommend opening Costco's investor relations and pulling up this financial statement. You're basically looking at half a page of an income statement. Super easy to walk through and understand, especially if you are new to this in any way. Now, as we see, we have their most recent 3 months ended on the left-hand side. They also provide 6 months ended or 24 weeks ended on the right-hand side, as this was their Q2 in the middle of their fiscal year. And so top line sales came in at $58.4 billion. We saw that was good for roughly 5.7% growth year over year. Your net sales in terms of merchandise makes up the majority of that, and then your membership fees came in at right around $1.1 billion. In terms of operating expenses, you do have quite a bit of operating expenses. We know Costco is a highly value-focused business that basically sells their merchandise at cost with just razor-thin margins and really looks to make a majority of their profits from those memberships. And so you net out just $2 billion in operating income from $58 billion of top-line income, but that is steady growth, at least compared to last year where you were closer to $1.9 billion in operating income. And so we pay out some taxes, we also generate some interest income, and we get to a net income figure of right around $1.7 billion. Last year we were closer to 1.46. And so on a diluted basis, this is on a GAAP figure, you generate nearly $3.92 in EPS. Last year you were closer to $3.30. So again, all things looking good over at Costco. A very consistent and sleepy business model, but one that continues to just churn out profits and really continues to see people walk through the warehouses and take advantage of the absolutely great deals you get at Costco, considering this company really sells their merchandise basically at cost with razor thin margins. From a balance sheet, again, all things looking fairly consistent. Your cash and cash equivalents did dip right around $4.7 billion. We'll take a look on their cash flows. The majority of that is due to that one-time special dividend they paid out in the most previous quarter of nearly $15 a share. And so that reduced some of their cash and cash equivalents. All things considered otherwise, though, looking fairly consistent. This was their Q2, or otherwise known as the holiday quarter. And so you can expect a merchandise inventory figure to be pretty high, and I'd say right around in line to where they were last year. All things considered, in terms of a liabilities, they're sitting on roughly $1 billion in the current portion of long-term debt, and then an additional $5.8 billion in total long-term debt. And so all things considered, assets greater than liabilities coming in at $66 billion. Nothing to really be overly concerned about with Costco. You did see that dip in cash and cash equivalents, but as we see, majority of that will be due to that one-time dividend payout. In terms of cash flows, we pull down a $3.3 billion net income figure. That's for the 6 months ended. So over the last 2 quarters, nearly $3.3 billion in net income. Last year, you were closer to 2.8. That turns into roughly $5.3 billion in operating cash flows. Did decline right around $500 million compared to last year. But as we walk through these cash flows, all things looking basically the same as they were last year, outside of this big one-time cash dividend paid of right around $8 billion. And so right here, you see their net cash and cash equivalents decreased by close to $4.6 billion. And majority of that goes straight into this one-time special dividend that you really get every now and then with Costco. They do pay out a 0.5% dividend, pretty small, but I think one that consistently grows. And then when their cash pile grows, I'd say excessively large, where they have real no use for that cash pile, yeah, they like to spit it out in the form of a special dividend, something that this company does on a fairly consistent basis. And so as we saw, the financials over at Costco really looking steady and very similar to how they were last year, along with your incremental bump ups on your revenue and also your profitability. From a stock chart perspective, this is where the stock gets really interesting. You're basically sitting on a pattern of higher highs and higher lows over the last 6 months in a very steady uptrend that is now coming down to retest that at close to $753 a share. And so this pullback really was expected, shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, especially in my opinion, considering how much the stock has rallied. And if you pull this chart back over the last decade, or in fact, over the last 15 years, yeah, this one has been making a set of higher highs and higher lows like no other stock really. And so that just shows you the consistency of this business model and the fact that Costco has been doing this for a long time, and there's really no reason to think why they won't continue to do that. Now, would I be overly excited in jumping into shares of Costco at these levels at close to $750 a share? Probably not. I think, like we spoke, from a valuation perspective, this one is trading at a 10-year high and nearly 50 times an earnings multiple. And so you do have some level of valuation risk, at least at these prices. So I would be more interested in picking up shares of Costco on really any major dips. As we saw, this company is in a mega uptrend. And so dips along the way can absolutely be bought. You absolutely buy dips in an uptrend, especially in companies like Costco. And so the first level I would really consider buying shares of Costco would be closer to $670. That would be still another 10% decline, considering the after hours decline of roughly 4%. And so you still have right around a 10% decline to go in order to come down to this level of support at close to $675 a share. Even at that point, this uptrend certainly would have been broken. But as we saw, Costco would remain in this mega uptrend. And so that would be the first level where I would be considering buying shares of Costco. Wouldn't still be a massive dip, would basically be a blip in the stock chart of this one. But certainly if you wanted to build out a position of, let's say, 10 shares, that's a level where you can maybe pick up 1 or 2 shares for Costco. This is one that I really wouldn't consider selling even at these levels. I think there's really nothing in these financials that tell you that this company is worth selling. The only real reason if you were to sell it would be from a valuation risk perspective, where if you think there's better opportunities elsewhere, you could look to move that money there. But really, there's no fundamental reasons why you would come in and sell shares of Costco at these levels outside, again, of just that valuation. And if you don't own shares of Costco and you're looking to get into shares, I think the first level is closer to $675, and then ideally lower, sub $600 is where this stock would become really interesting, with that valuation coming in closer to the mid 30s on that earnings side. You can also expect that price hike, in my opinion, to come sometime in the next 2 quarters. And when that does happen, likely these earning estimates will get adjusted depending on how much they hike their price by. And similarly, the earnings multiple for this one will also get adjusted accordingly. So that was my take on shares of Costco. A fairly steady quarter with nothing out of the blue. You didn't get that price membership hike that I think a lot of investors expected. Certainly it is coming, I'd say, in the next 2 to 3 quarters. So you can look forward to that if you do own shares of Costco. Otherwise, I would expect shares of Costco to dip in the near term, at least, with the valuation remaining elevated. That was my take on shares of Costco. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section below. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.